3 of the sustainability and natural environment. Objective A talks about increasing access to nature. This may be achieved by attaining natural spaces in areas where there are none, or ensuring that all residents have convenient access to transportation to the natural areas. Why is it important for all Portlanders to have access to natural areas, and how does this tie into the goal of shared equity?
Okay, well, the equity issue is important because there's an uneven distribution of access to natural areas. And so there are some folks, say for example in the southwestern part of the city, that have much easier access to natural areas than people living in the northeast part of the city. And so the equity issue says that there ought to be much more equality of opportunity to access natural areas. So that's just part of a larger equity agenda that's very important to the Portland Plan. Equity, as you know, is the central pillar of the Portland Plan, that the city ought to commit itself to overcoming inequities, to reducing them, and to creating more equal access to opportunities for everyone living in the city. So in that sense, natural areas is one part of a larger equity agenda. In addition, there's a great deal and growing interest in reconnecting, for many people, nature and daily life. There's a large and growing literature that analyzes the benefits of being closely connected with nature. As a matter of fact, in the Oregonian just today, there's a story about a book by a writer named Richard Louv, who wrote a book a few years ago called Last Child in the Woods. And in that book he talks about the growing disconnect between children and nature, and the problems that are resulting as a result of this lack of connection between children and nature. And for example, he spends a lot of time talking about the ways in which being in nature can help a child address attention deficit disorder. Being out in nature has a benefit on physical fitness. So lots of reasons why people ought to be able to access nature much more easily in their daily lives, to reap the health benefits, both mental as well as physical, of that connection. So he's just published a book that was in the paper today extending that argument about how important it is for people to be in close connection to the natural world as frequently as possible.
That's a follow-up to his first book, Last Child in the Woods.
Right. Last Child in the Woods was the first book. He created a movement, has a website, and even a piece of legislation that's being considered by Congress called No Child Left Inside.
That's nice.
You know, there's No Child Left Behind, the big federal law on education, so his thing is No Child Left Inside. Also, for example, connecting people more with the sources of their food is a big part of this. Many children don't know where food comes from, so gardens as part of schools. Kids grow their own. Harvest the crop, bring it into the cafeteria, there's lunch. That sort of thing. Again, kids know where these things come from. Tremendous interest in the Portland area in food, access to healthy food, and again, connections between people in the city and people growing food on the edges of the city.
Right.
So there's just a huge amount of interest in that, and the Portland Plan captures a lot of that interest and a lot of those concerns about problems associated with the lack of access to nature.
Okay, that makes sense. Real progress has been made in Portland's Johnson Creek watershed. The efforts, there's been over 300 reclamation efforts over the last 20 years. The efforts to improve the watershed health and enhance fish and wildlife were recently evidenced by the finding of 3 native coho 15 miles upstream. In addition, numerous surveys indicate there have been noticeable increase in birds and reptiles within the watershed. This would indicate efforts are succeeding. Does the city recognize progress such as this example as success within the stated goals of the Portland Plan? I mean, even though they started that long before the Portland plan was developed.
Oh, right.
But
See, the Portland plan wants to build on and extend that. The city loves that.
Yeah.
One of the things we are most proud of here is that we here in Urban Studies and Planning, led by my colleague Barry Messer, who's down the hall, we've been working with the City of Portland's Bureau of Environmental Services on neighborhood watershed restoration projects for 15 years. And so you may know that Portland State has capstones that are neighborhood and watershed. And so again, there's been this partnership. Students working with neighborhood associations in the Johnson Creek corridor do restoration projects.
Any of those habits or efforts be mirrored in Fano Creek? 'Cause I know
Yes.
that's
Yeah. The idea is to spread them widely. Right? So again, this partnership between the city, the university, and the neighborhoods. And also in Johnson Creek is a very, very important organization that again is spreading around not only the region but throughout the state of Oregon, Watershed Council. Johnson Creek Watershed Council is a very, very important organization.
They're mentioned in the article I read.
Composed of people who live in the watershed, business firms there, who all realize they share an interest in the health of the watershed. And so it's a nonprofit organization that does projects on its own with volunteers, with the city, with the state, to try to enhance the quality of the watershed to protect its health.
How do they realize that? I mean, is someone educating people, individuals, and communities as to the benefits of healthy watersheds?
See, that's what the Bureau of Environmental Services does. They have education specialists. That's what faculty members do, and the students take courses. They learn about watershed health, problems posed for the watershed as part of their capstone, and then they become educators.
Okay. I'm just learning how much involved the university is.
Oh yeah, the university is out, and the watershed thing, especially in that part of the city, that is a major, major claim to fame, widespread recognition, national recognition for this long-term partnership between the city, the university, and the neighborhoods to work on these restoration projects.
And
It's a
following
model. It's a model thinking.
other areas in the country will follow.
Oh yeah. So it's happening in lots of different places now. Again, people realize that they're all in it together. We're all affected. Our quality of life is affected by the health of the watershed.
Absolutely.
We have to realize the negative impacts that we're having on it, and we have to change our behaviors so that we restore the health of the watershed. Again, once you put it in watershed terms, again, it gets people thinking. It makes it clear that we are all in it together.